So please enjoy this pleasant array of feathery cocks.
Nice cock.
Then of course, as you do, just without question, headed straight through the sphincter. But then when I decided to start the fight like this, they probably thought to themselves, well shit. Baldur's Gate 3, the game that's currently racking up really good reviews. You have very likely heard of the previous games in the series, as have I. However, I have never actually played a Baldur's Gate game or anything similar to it. So it was time to change that and embark on a brand new adventure in a world that I have absolutely no clue about. I have no idea who any of the characters are, or what Baldur's Gate even is, or why it's so important. I have also only ever played Dungeons & Dragons in real life for approximately an hour and a half, so the concepts of this are all still brand new to me. So let's dive into this journey and see how we get on. So after a very intriguing opening cinematic, in which we have a 5G chip implanted into our brains, it's time to find out who we actually are and begin character creation. I do have to say, going through the origin characters and being able to see a little introduction video giving you the kind of gist about them was a really nice feature, very interesting, but I wanted to be my own person and create someone brand new, so I went with a custom character to begin with. But before we got stuck into character creation, there was one very important thing to do first, which was to head into the settings and ensure that genitals and nudity were absolutely enabled.
Yeah, boy.
I mean, come on, I've paid for this game, man. I want to see it all. Having confirmed my degeneracy, I headed into the character creator. Now, I'm the kind of guy that likes my characters to have a bit of a darker backstory where possible, so naturally I was drawn to the Asmodeus Tiefling. There was a lovely selection of classes to choose from, but I wanted to be something very different. I have never played a bard in a game before, so naturally went for that. I spent a good long time, probably much too long, making this guy look as handsome as possible, and then it was down to the important stuff. Yeah, literally, down there. Basically it was time to choose a cock. Now unfortunately, of course, I cannot show this on YouTube. Think of the children. So please enjoy this pleasant array of feathery cocks. There was a fantastic selection of pieces on offer, but I had to choose Penis D in the end because, Penis D, it just makes sense. So my character was now the proud owner of his first and most important weapon.
Nice cock.
Now, all silliness aside, this is the best character creation in any game that I have ever played before. It honestly took me around an hour and a half, and yes, 55 minutes of that was spent choosing a cock, but it honestly, just the best character creator that I've ever played. Even down to the music that was playing in the background. It's a good job that I did enjoy that song because I did have to listen to it about 74 times, but it was a pleasurable experience. Now that his appearance was complete, it was time to name my guy. Now, I wanted to go with Bruce, because strong name, but then I had a brainwave at an even better name. You know Barry White, don't you? How's about Bardy White? Bardy White. There we go. And then it was time to choose a guardian, so I thought maybe I should probably get someone a bit tougher than me. I'm a little fancy pants guitar stringing, singing melody man, so I'll get a little bit of a fighter type to companion with me. So I chose this kind of orc. I'm sorry, she's not an orc, but she looks like an orc. Orc type warrior companion, and I was so tempted to give her a massive beard. I love the fact that that was an option. I did decide to go a bit more sensible and not give her a huge beard, but man, I really wanted to.
My name is Jeff.
So now it was time to get into the world and play through the tutorial section. Now I must say the tutorial was again very good. It didn't hold your hand too much, you just got to explore, move around, get a feel for the game, which did feel quite different to anything I'd played before, and then just get used to, what was possible and what you kind of had to do. It appeared that there were some other characters in this story that had also had these 5G chips implanted into their heads. There were some data protection issues there with the whole GDPR side of things as we kept on experiencing each other's thoughts and tapping into each other's minds. Not exactly good for the whole privacy scene, so there's probably going to be a court case. We'll see how the story progresses on that. So, our first taste of combat, some little imps there. So this was really nice to see how combat works in Baldur's Gate, and there's a lot to combat, as you'll know if you played this before, and it seems like a very, very in-depth system. The kind of thing that's going to take a lot of getting used to and practicing with, and I do look forward to doing some more difficult fights as we progress into the game, but we showed these imps who was boss and carried on. I mean, well, we tried to carry on, but then I had failed miserably to see the bloody climbing frame that was in front of me, and decided to try and jump and thrust and, you know, just check that my hips were still working for far too long before spotting the climbing wall. Then, of course, as you do, just without question, headed straight through the sphincter. This game is fucking nuts, and I absolutely love it so far. Off through the sphincter we go. It was at this point in the story that we came across Shadowheart, who was stuck in a pod, and, to be fair, she was very annoying. It was extremely tempting to just leave her there and get on with our lovely day exploring sphincters, but I decided I probably should help her. It may be beneficial down the line. So again, I spent far too long trying to figure out how to open this pod, popped through a few different sphincters, and then finally found a little orb to pop into the control panel, which enabled her to get out of her pod. Then somehow, using the power of my tiny mind, I managed to will the pod to open. Bardy White does not mess about, guys. With the still quite annoying Shadowheart freed, we decided to continue as a team and head down through the next sphincter. Now, from what I gathered at this point in the story, we were still kind of under the control of the mind flayers, with the little grubs in our minds that were controlling our actions, so I was totally confused at this point in the battle, because as a player, I thought we should defeat the guy, but as the character in the story, I needed to connect the thing at the other end of this room and enable us to escape from this ship. But I tried to fight the guy, I was just completely ignoring the instructions on the screen, and it took me again far too long. I did say I was new to these types of games, didn't I? But we got there in the end. I also really enjoyed the fact that as a bard, I could live up to my true potential of my class, and in the middle of combat just play a little tune for everybody, just to keep everyone feeling nice and inspired and relaxed and calm or ferocious or whatever the music dictated. So we made it to the other end of the ship, connected the old GPS, and off we went. So the ship crashed somewhere unknown, and we were left stranded. We find Shadowheart lying there on the floor with a curious little object in her hand, which I did try to have a little sneaky peeky of what it was, but she did in fact wake up at that time, fortunately not being aware of what I was trying to do. Sneaky sneaky. So we had a nice little chat, got to know her a little bit better, and she started to warm on me. She's alright, a bit less annoying than she was before. So off we went, happy as Larry, to see what was going on. We did find some more little creatures, some of those intellect devourers. Now, already being quite a stupid person, I could not suffer any more of my intellect being devoured, so I decided to squash them with the help of Shadowheart, who proved to be a bit of a more fitting combatant than I was myself. At this point, I did get these 3 pop-ups on the left of the screen, alerting me to take a rest because my resources were replenishing, and also to the fact that I had leveled up, but because I was too busy looting, absolutely nothing, I didn't in fact notice this at the time, so continued on none the wiser. And then we met this guy. This fucking guy. Ugh.
There, in the grass. You can kill it, can't you? Like you killed the others? There. Can you see it?
Now, so far with the rolls that we have done in this game, we've been pretty lucky. I don't think we'd actually lost any of the rolls. But because this guy was such a major asshole, I really wanted this roll to succeed more than any that I've come across so far.
I need him alive. Stow that blade, or I'll show you just how messy things can get.
Promises, promises. But I have other business, I'm afraid. Now, I saw you on the ship, didn't I? Not?
Thank God that it did. That felt good, man. Because this guy was such an ass, I was so tempted to just ditch him there, but because I was new to this story, I thought, you know, strength in numbers, so I thought I'd drag him along for the ride. And it was at that point that I realised that we had indeed levelled up, so I levelled up the rest of the group and myself, and then we carried on with the journey. This is where we came across one of the injured mind flayers, and I basically had the choice of whether to spare the guy, let him sort of live and die slowly, or to stomp on his head. So we went with the latter. Squash. After doing a bit more foraging and finding a nice little treasure chest dug under the soil, we found our way to the Druid camp and the unfortunate goblin ambush that was just about to take place. Time for a proper bit of combat. Now I'm sure that when the villagers saw 3 other adventurers come to join the fight against the goblins, they probably thought, yes, thank goodness, luck is on our side. But then when I decided to start the fight like this, they probably thought to themselves, well shit. And shit was the very correct word to describe my performance during this fight. Now, self-criticism aside, this was a very good fight to start to learn a bit more of the mechanics of combat in Baldur's Gate, and I did very much enjoy it, even though I did perform like a pile of turd. At one point mid the battle, I'd completely run out of things to do, and decided it was a good idea to just play another song, because I'm a bard for God's sake, and that's what bards are meant to do, isn't it? So out the guitar came, hopefully people approved. Now this is where I discovered vicious mockery, quite possibly one of the most favourite things I've come across in this game so far. Basically, I just insult somebody, and it gives them a little debuff. Here was the first insult that my guy pulled out. I could not have been happier with what just came out of his mouth. Genuinely absolutely loved my first few hours of this game. So we defeated the goblins, entered the Emerald Grove, solved a little dispute. I decided to be the peaceful kind of mediator guy here and use my persuasive ability to stop these guys from going at each other. And that is where I'm going to leave this episode for today, guys. So if you have enjoyed this, please do leave a little like on the video and consider subscribing to the channel for more gaming content from me, Lazy Beast. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.